Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. It is with utmost humility that I accepted the honor of being called to give a keynote address at this leadership series in honor of the 40th anniversary of one of the truest and most honorable Pentecostal establishments that stands today, the Guiding Light Assembly. I'd like to thank Pastor Adeolu for his follow-up, and a big congratulations to Pastor Wale Adefarase for leading GLA this last 40 years, from very humble beginnings to the leading light it represents today. In a world bereft of strong and honest leadership, to be called to deliver a keynote address to kickstart this leadership session by an institution that embodies the virtues of true and good leadership and led by a veritable leader is one honor I do not take for granted at all. My prayer is that I would not only uphold the trust Pastor Wale has placed in me, but I would lay a good foundation and set the tone for the leadership sessions that run for the rest of the day. I have thought deep and hard over what to say today. That would be new or revolutionary, but I decided to keep it simple and discuss the impact of the 7 mountains of influence and how they have impacted my life. The truth is that mountains are visible. They're imposing, they're intimidating obstacles that are present for all to see, yet only a very small percentage of humanity take on the challenge of conquering and dominating the mountains they see before them. One of the greatest hindrances of taking on a mountain is fear, and the second is ignorance. Both combined are destiny killers, and for this reason, far too many people go through life unfulfilled and empty. This is why the Bible tells us that God has not given us the spirit of fear, and my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. In September 2024, I successfully summited Mount Kilimanjaro and gained many life lessons that are valuable in leadership, some of which I would like to share with you today. One of such lessons was that at the base of the mountain or in the valley, there are always multitudes of people who see this mountain, they know the mountain is there, but they never attempt to conquer it. Many destinies are truncated right in the valley, right at the base. The valley is a noisy marketplace, full of distractions and very timid people. It takes a special mindset to be at the base of a mountain and declare like Caleb did in Joshua 14:12. Now therefore, give me this mountain of which the Lord spoke in that day. This leads me to ask, what are the mountains of influence? What are the mountains of influence, and how do I recognize the one that applies to me? According to John Enloe, the concept of the 7 mountains or spheres of influence presupposes that there are 7 key cultural or societal domains, namely religion, family, education, government, media, arts and entertainment, and business that are crucial for shaping a nation's cultural and identity. And any nation that can surmount these mountains will influence societal transformation and dominate society at large. In identifying what mountain to conquer, it is important to remember that your destiny is set in your heart by God Himself, downloaded and imprinted in your spirit from the foundation of time. Ephesians 1:11 tells us that we are predestined according to the purposes of Him who works all things according to the counsel of His will. Long before you were born, you were ordained to be and destined for that which has already been settled in heaven. Jeremiah 1:5. However, Proverbs 25:2 tells us that it is the glory of God to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter. So, while it's true that your destiny is preordained, you have the responsibility to search out your purpose on earth and your calling therein. Our understanding of mountains and how we tackle them will help us identify how we deal with the mountains in our lives that shape our destiny. One thing is certain, If you don't know which mountain your destiny is tied to, you can spend years climbing the wrong mountain and completely miss your destiny. You can also be on the right mountain for a season, and that era comes to an end, with years, many years yet, unlived. Rather than remain there, you are best advised to come off that particular mountain and start climbing another. This is what happened to Caleb in Joshua 14:10. For 45 years, he had journeyed with Joshua on the mountain of government, serving faithfully as they settled the land, putting in place the political and legal structures that would govern Israel for years to come. Then at 85 years old, he decided it was time to take up his own mountain, and he demanded for it. For many years, I was climbing the mountain of business, which represents the economic and financial systems that drive the economy. I recognized this sphere of influence right from my university days as an architecture student drawn to entrepreneurship. Upon graduation, I was determined to start my own business and conquer the world of architecture. Incidentally, I was also very drawn and passionate about politics and service, and therefore drawn to the mountain of government. But it was not time for me to summit that mountain yet. You will have conflicts like this in your heart as to which mountains to pursue, especially where you find a pull to more than one mountain. There is a saying by Oprah Winfrey that would help you with this. She says, "You can have it all, but not all at once. You must choose the mountain you want to surmount and conquer it, and then you go for the next. Some mountains take a lifetime to conquer, others less." Caleb spent the first 40 years of his life on the mountain of education, the next 45 years on the mountain of government, and the last 25 on the mountain of family. You may not live for 110 years on earth, but if you must take a cue out of Caleb's life, it is this: it is never too late to come down from one mountain and climb another. One key word that I learned while climbing Kilimanjaro is pole pole. It's a Swahili word that means slowly, slowly. It's repeated consistently to encourage sojourners, and it depicts the secret to conquering a mountain, which is to be relaxed and unhurried in life, taking things a step at a time, a day at a time. You may stop for rest and breaks, but always keep moving forward. Done properly, and once you respect the rules of the mountain, you will get to the top. Granted, it takes a monumental effort, discipline, preparation, and years of hard work to get to the top. However, it is at this point that you must choose your next step carefully. You can decide to remain at the top and never descend. Unfortunately, it means you will die a slow death from starvation, thirst, and cold. Many people have long reached their peak, but they chose to remain in one place, and they died a forgettable death. May this never be your fate. This is where reinventing yourself and taking on new life challenges come in. As I approached my 50th birthday, there was a restlessness in my spirit that I could no longer quieten. For about 15 years prior, while still on the mountain of business, I had increasingly delved into the mountain of government. However, I committed a fundamental error which many people make at this stage. It's this: you cannot be at the summit of two mountains at the same time. As long as I remained at the top of the mountain of business, I was never going to get to the top of the mountain of government. The fear of leaving one mountain to go back down into the valley and then to start the conquest of another mountain, one that is more daunting, more frightening than the present mountain you're on, paralyzes you with fear. That is what I faced. How does one live a veritable global success, business success that I had built like Sahara, for the nasty, turbulent, filthy world of Nigerian politics. It didn't make sense. Yet, I no longer had peace on the mountain of business. It was time to come off that mountain and climb the other. The good thing is that every experience you gain while climbing one mountain will become relevant for the other. And this is true, whether you have been climbing the wrong mountain for many years or whether you are resetting for a new mountain. Thankfully, the Bible already tells us what to do when you are set to reinvent your life. It is this. It says, speak to the mountain before you until it bows to your command. Zechariah 4:7. Who art thou, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel, before Tonye Cole, before your name, it shall become a plain. To get to the top of any mountain, the first battle that you must win is the battle over your mind. Constantly, I found myself saying, I will make it to the top of Kilimanjaro. And that's what happened. When you can visualize it, then you can achieve it. There are rules that must be strictly adhered to. And when you follow those rules, you will succeed. If you don't, there can be fatalities. Do not change who you are when you are on one mountain and you want to start on another just because you want to belong. Be authentic and take all of you with you for this new ride. I remember in the early days of the mountain on politics in government, people I met would quickly dismiss me saying, you are not a politician, you are a businessman. For a little bit, I thought about trying to become more like a politician. But a professor friend of mine in Oxford recalibrated my brain completely. She said, your greatest asset must be your authenticity. The minute you try to become something that you are not, to conform to the image of those who are telling you what you should be, you will be derailed. And sooner rather than later, you will crash. Whatever you do, let people know who you are and what you stand for. Bring all of you into the room. So today when I come into any room, I come with my political self, my entrepreneurial self, my pastor self, my philanthropic self, and my family self. This combination in Nigerian politics is quite unique. And there's something about the way I am conducting this conquest of the mountain that speaks to integrity and excellence. Now, this is very important because it's a carryover from my former mountain and one that really applies in this current mountain. Lies, deceit, betrayals, character assassination, intimidation, blackmail, threats, violence, stealing, pride, wickedness, greed, all of this are in common occurrence on this mountain of government, and it is worn as a badge of honor. Interestingly, integrity and humility and the spirit of excellence are in such low occurrence that when they show up, they are immediately visible for all to see. Matthew 5:13-14 says, you are the light of the world and the salt of the earth. The reason why you are seeking the summit of any mountain must be that when you get there, your light is impossible to hide and your voice will echo loud and clear. A young friend of mine, Zuriel Odowole, was recently nominated for the Nobel Prize. She is just 22 years old. And when she wins, she will be one of the youngest Nobel Prize winners. The critical thing about Zuriel is that she's a believer and she uses the mountain of government to advertise God's direct influence in helping her find her purpose at age 9 and guide her life's journey. She's an embodiment of grace and proving Galatians 6:9 right. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Make no mistake, the mountain of influence is a mountain of service, and it is a gift that God has given to you as humanity. Believers are to take over these 7 mountains of influence for the kingdom of God from the devil. When we're dealing with the kingdom of darkness, know that the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Jesus did not play nice with the devil. you don't as well. He had a clear mandate that he might destroy the works of the devil. I don't know which mountain you are on, whether you have started your climb or you are still in the valley. But remember this, if Zuriel could find purpose at 9 years old and start her 13-year journey to the top, you are not too young to begin. If Caleb could start his journey at 85 years old, you are not too old to start. What is critical is that you must start and do not stop till you get to the top. Like Paul said, when all is said and done, you want to say boldly to yourself, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. May this be your testimony in Jesus' name. Enjoy the conquest of your mountain, and I will see you at the top in all your glory. God bless you. Thank you. Good night.